Let me see if I can get through this one without crying because this really hits home for me. Hello, good people. This is Joanna with the Harmonious.Balance channel, where I am here to encourage you in the moments where you've missed your shot, not to bow out of the game, but to square up for another shot by grabbing the offensive rebound. As you saw in the thumbnail, today we are talking about feeling invisible. Now, this especially hits home for me. And even though I have a fairly healthy level of self-esteem, I've battled with feeling invisible practically my whole life. Now, I'll share two stories to let you know how this all started for me. So the first story. Technically, I'm not the middle child, but I relate to the idea of being the middle child. I'm actually number 4 out of 5. My brother technically is in the middle. He's number 3, 2 before him and 2 after him. Early on, I'd say pre-teenish years for me, probably even a little bit before, I got this revelation that I didn't have a moniker associated with my place in the family. I mentioned my brother is actually the middle child. Well, he's the only boy. Then there's the oldest, then the youngest, and number 2 is a bit more unique because she's deaf. Then there's me. Now, before I get too far gone, I want to mention that no one in my immediate family, or even my extended family for that matter, said or did anything to make me feel isolated or not special. This was merely an observation on my part, but an observation that I internalized because I wanted a special call out of some kind. And I thought I found it because I didn't wear glasses at the time, but my siblings did. I thought I had my mother's eyesight. To this day at 76, she has 20/20 or better eyesight. Going into middle school, though, that all changed. I had an eye exam, and it turned out that I needed glasses. I was devastated by this news and became quite defiant. At the ripe old age of 11, I told the doctor that I wasn't wearing them. I told everybody in the office I wasn't wearing them. I cried and I cried. That day, my older sister actually was the one to drive all us kids to the eye doctor, and my parents met us there a little bit later. When my parents arrived, the receptionist told them, "Your daughter is very upset." They thought something happened with my other sister, Angie, but it turned out to be me. My father tried consoling and encouraging me, but I was not having it because it was an identity thing for me. What was going to make me feel special? I thought I had something and it was being taken away. That's why my reaction was so intense. The only thing that got me through was the trend of wearing wire-rimmed glasses made popular by the character Dwayne Wayne on the TV show A Different World. Our beloved classic. Even people that didn't wear glasses would wear those type of glasses because they were considered cool. So I compromised around that because I could front like I was being trendy. Now, interestingly enough, I've come to like glasses as an accessory. If I ever were to have my own line of something, it would be eyewear. Now, on to the second story. This time I was even younger, probably 6 or so. The 5 of us were in the living room, and I must have fallen asleep on the couch. I woke up and saw the 4 of them on the floor playing and having a good time. I thought they would notice that I had woken up and would invite me to join them. I sat there for a little bit, and then I remember turning my head towards the couch cushion, and I started to cry because I felt left out, and they didn't notice that I was missing. I stayed there on the couch for a little while longer with my face turned towards the cushion, and I guess somehow my spirit emerged because I got the courage to get up and ask to join them. And that's what I did, and they made room for me to join in on the fun. Now, the moral of that second story might just be enough for some of y'all watching. That might be the word that you needed to hear. But that really wasn't the end of feeling invisible for me. It's something that I contend with all the time. I've managed most of my life just like I did that day in the living room. I would speak up for myself. But I would certainly love to know what it is like to be seen without having to make myself seen, So yeah, those are my earliest recollections of battling with feeling invisible. And I'm sure many of you can relate. But how are you supposed to overcome this feeling? Well, let's start with exactly how you experience this feeling. Do you feel overlooked and readily forgotten? Are you not duly recognized for your contributions? Are you more quiet natured compared to your more outgoing friends? Do you feel like people don't really know you? Are you socially awkward? Are you the strong friend that everybody thinks has it all together? Do you feel like there's nothing unique about you? Are you in unfamiliar surroundings, moved to a new place, starting a new job, or are you starting over in life entirely? Now, of these 8, I resonate a little bit more with 3, 4, 6, and 8. Comment below letting me know which of the 8 you resonate with. I could probably come up with even more questions to probe on, but I think those are enough thought starters. Now, the next question would be, what do you want to experience? Do you want to be the center of attention? Do you want to be on the invite list for major social events? Do you want to be acknowledged for your contributions? Do you want people to know your story? Are you trying to make friends? Do you want to feel loved? Do you want to feel embraced and welcome? Do you want compliments? Do you want to feel celebrated? Do you want to have a sense of belonging? Or do you want to have a sense of purpose? Now, on the purpose front, I actually did a 2-part series on finding your purpose that you can check out. And also, if you feel like there's nothing unique about you, you should watch that series as well. So we've asked the questions about what you're currently experiencing versus what you want to experience. The third question is how to close that gap between what you're currently experiencing and what you want to experience. How you close the gap ultimately depends on the goal, but here are some ideas that might be helpful. From a professional standpoint, if you feel invisible and overlooked on your job, then you must take more of a proactive approach to be seen and heard. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean turning into somebody that you're not, being loud or self-serving, but it means that the responsibility to be seen and heard falls to you. While your manager should be supportive, most organizations make it clear that your career management and advancement is on you, not on them. While that may not seem fair or ideal, it is what it is, and it probably won't change anytime soon. Now, if you have a hard time speaking up for yourself, then I suggest seeking out some coaching on how to do that. If you've been skipping out on mixers, you need to start attending some of them. If you stay cooped up in your office, then you need to come out more. If you're mute during meetings, then you have to start engaging more. And interestingly enough, people will want to hear what you have to say because you don't open up or come around that often. Now, I actually learned how to leverage this to my advantage. I wasn't one to say a lot. Now, I'm actually not shy, but the need to be the center of attention or comment on everything wasn't important to me. But I decided I was going to have the reputation that when I finally did speak up, people would listen intently because what I was going to say would be a gem. The value of my thoughts became premium. Now, that's our professional lives. In our personal lives, the responsibility to be seen and heard still primarily lies with us. So the same rules apply. But I think what's different in our personal lives is we really, really need to know that the people in our lives care about us and value us. It's not that we don't need that on the job, but our jobs are primarily transactional relationships. The agreement is we perform and get compensated for it. Everything else is icing on the cake. But in our personal lives, transactional relationships are not sufficient. Having a real connection is what fills voids. Without that connection, we feel empty and invisible. So while we still have to be proactive about being seen and heard, how the people in our lives respond carries much more weight in how we feel about ourselves. There's no such thing as a one-sided connection. But the issue is we can't control the response side of the connection. We can't make people care.
'Cause I can't make you love me if you don't.
Being proactive, being vulnerable, and being better communicators can certainly influence their response. However, the decision and commitment to show up for you and respond to you in a way that makes you feel seen and heard falls to the other person. And that's based on how that person feels about you and how that person prioritizes you. And it's hard because you need what you need, but that person can only give what they can give. And that person has to be bought into the relationship at the same level that you're bought into it in order for you to not feel invisible. And this is for all relationships, family, friendships, and otherwise. But what are we supposed to do when others are not bought in? One of the first things we need to do after sobering up from the disappointment is to change our expectations of those that are not bought in. Once it's clear, to continue to expect it only makes us feel worse. We also have to manage and cope with our emotions, because those emotions just don't automatically disappear. And therapy probably is the best course of action to learn how to cope with our emotions. The last thing I will say, and this is something that we have to keep front and center. Many times what happens when others don't show up for us, we in turn stop showing up for ourselves. Those who aren't bought in as we would like shouldn't have the final say. They didn't see you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't see you. Just because someone else doesn't see how special you are doesn't mean that you should lose sight of how special you are. Just because someone else doesn't see your value doesn't mean you should lose sight of your value. If someone else doesn't want to dance with you, that doesn't mean you should stop dancing. If someone else doesn't like your smile, that doesn't mean you should stop smiling. When you stop seeing you by caving to feelings of unworthiness, by shutting down, by isolating yourself, you're actually taking away the opportunity for others to see you. All that does is create a self-fulfilling prophecy. You can't stop feeling invisible by becoming more invisible. You certainly can't be seen if you disappear. Whew, that was a long one. Leave a comment if this was helpful to you in some way. Your comments certainly are not invisible to me. That's all for now. I will see you later, good people.